everybody, this is John Habermeyer coming to you from Synergy Design Live. This is our episode number 3, and I'd like to think we're getting better. We've had some technical issues in the past, but we're trying to work that out every single week and get better and better. I'm here today with my co-host Sarah.
Hey everyone, this is Sarah Schmecka with Synergy. Today we're going to be taking a look at the kitchen area of our project from last week and touching on some of the material selections for this client. But first, we have a very important message from an important member of our team. Meet Odin. Odin's fun facts. And Odin says, have you ever just been daydreaming and wondering what outer space smells like? Well, I've got some great news. It smells like searing steak, which is what I'm currently dreaming about. Back
Holy
to you,
cow,
John.
really? Really searing steak, no kidding.
Yeah,
How,
I guess
how,
that's what Odin says, so it must be true.
really? Well, thanks, Odin. Now I'm hungry. I don't even know what I'm going to do. So,
Yeah, me too.
uh, awesome. So today we're going to be looking at a kitchen project, and we briefly touched on this last week. And this particular house is relatively small, but we want to make this work. Whenever we're looking at a space like this, I'm trying to work with a circle that's a minimum of 42 inches. So as I'm looking around this space and putting things in, I'm going to move things around to try to get a sense of space. So when I look at this, I'm like, wow, that is way, way, way too small to really do anything with. And the same over here. So when I see this, Sarah,
And
take a
this is
peek
their
here.
current floor
This
plan
is their
right now.
current, yeah, this is, sorry, yeah, this is their current floor plan.
And that center rectangle, that's their island,
Yeah,
their kitchen island.
exactly. Here, let me show you a couple of pictures just for reference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
that's the island right there.
Yeah,
That's the
and
fireplace.
especially looking at it like that with the pictures, it does look a little bit tight there.
Yeah, and that's the foyer. So really tight foyer, kind of hard to visualize that. That's the entry into the kitchen right there. So a little bit cramped, and that's the kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at this as a designer, I'm pretty stumped, I got to tell you, because this is a major wall right here, Sarah.
Okay, and that's the entrance and
Hmm.
the bathroom. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull all this out of here and see what happens if I start from scratch. And pull this over here, pull this over here, and pull this over here. And that way I can start with a blank space to work with and see what I can do. Now this wall right here can come down pretty easily.
That's good because I know that was definitely something that they wanted to have done. And it seems to be a common thing that people want to have done to open up, give their kitchen a little bit more space than they
Abs-
have.
yeah, absolutely. But we get into something pretty tricky right here now because this is the existing bathroom and the furnace is directly underneath this and it
Oh.
stacks up. Yeah, so it stacks up to the upstairs in this area and we need to run a B vent through here. So I had to
So
talk
that
with the
wall is
client.
not an option, right? To be removed.
Well, it is. What
Oh,
we have to do, it's just not easy to do something like this, but we can absolutely do it. It just depends on how important that is to move this wall. And in this particular case, they're planning on living here forever. So I think I want to explore some options of what it would do if we moved this a little bit. Now, to do that, we're going to have to actually relocate the furnace, all the ductwork for the furnace, and we're going to have to modify this beam right here. So this is a wall that's currently here, and that's holding up the whole second floor, which means that we're going to have to put a header in here of some sort.
and if it was important enough to them, then they would want to do this. But it's definitely cool to see it as an option at least,
A
right?
100%. And I think that we really do need to explore that. Um, without that, we're not going to be left with a whole bunch of options.
Right. Because although, expanding it, um, the length of the kitchen would help, it's really that width area where the island is, and I know I think they still wanted an island, so if I'm not mistaken, I think that, you know, um,
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
in itself would
absolutely.
need to be done to make
S-
it,
Yep.
more functional.
So I'm just going to put this back in here, and I'm going to say that this is a cabinet. This is another cabinet, and I'm just looking at it purely from a space standpoint because I may have bought us a little bit of space right here. If we just
Oh
push
yeah.
this back a little bit, we can still use this area here for that chase. So let's see what happens if we do that. I'm just going to bring this back over here. And what I'm doing is I'm just dragging options into place. And even if, even back in the old day or some people at home, what they might do is just take this into a scale and make little paper blocks out here that are to scale and slide them around. And that's kind of like really early in my design career. I used to just move things around and it was all just pieces of paper that were to
That's
scale.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
obviously, I'm sure, a lot more easy now that technology has advanced more, but
It's
definitely feasible for someone to practice it that way.
absolutely. So even with this right here, I'm still just a little bit off of
Yeah.
ideal. So I'm going to have to push this wall back in order to really make this happen here. I am going to have to push this wall back to right here, which means that yes, we are going to be changing up the furnace and this becomes pretty tight here as well. But we do have a big foyer right here.
And which is something they wanted to reconfigure anyways,
They sure did, yeah, because it was pretty closed in.
right?
So an option would be to bring this over this way a little bit, turn this up and open this up, bring this forward to close this out, but open this up right here. So we're going to be able to get rid of this wall and make this an open stringer staircase and
Mhm.
one with a little bit, that it'll look wide open and probably open risers as well. So here I'm going to end up having to move this bathroom, it looks like, to get this to work up here. But that's not really that big of a problem at all.
Right, because they were talking about wanting to reconfigure it anyways. And just to clarify, when looking at this, those orange lines are the current wall structure. The yellow lines are what you have moved the wall to, and then those red dotted lines are
Yeah.
a wall coming down that used to
Absolutely.
be
Thanks
there.
for asking that, Sarah. Sometimes I get
Okay,
lost in the moment here when I'm designing. And, that's one of the
absolutely.
curses of being creative, actually. It's that, I don't know, I'm not a great multitasker. I know some of my colleagues who are designers are, but when I get focused on something, I'm in the zone, working, and not really paying attention to anything outside of my current thought.
And you're used to doing this. Those are probably second nature
Oh,
to
yeah,
you at this point.
I've literally been doing this for over 30 years now. All right, now we're getting somewhere, Sarah. Check this out.
Wow, that
So
looks okay.
yeah,
So
we brought this in. We're opening up this. We're gonna get rid of this doorway right here. And to do this, all we have to do is when we're opening up the ceiling, we're gonna put a beam in right here. And we're gonna put a beam in right here because that probably did carry some of that floor load.
mm-hmm.
Over here, we're gonna open this up as much as we can. And we're gonna put a beam or a flush beam or a header in from right here to here. And then we have this whole space to work with. And I brought this over. The reason why I'm thinking this way right now is because something that's really really a nice configuration is to do something like this right here. And this would be a pantry cabinet, fridge pantry cabinet. And I'm going to drop an appliance block in here just so we see what we're working with. If you notice over here, I have all these pre-built that I've just assembled over a long period of time, different blocks of appliances and room combinations and so on. And whenever I'm starting a new design, I just take a whole bunch from some of my pre-existing blocks, and this one here happens to be an appliance block. I'm just going to drag that over to here and explode it so I can move that around and see what I'm left with here. We're looking pretty good, actually, Sarah.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming along pretty nicely. Now, if I were a client going through this process on a project like this, what would I expect to be the timeline, from start to finish?
Oh, that's a great question. So this is a pretty typical type of project right here, meaning that there's probably 3 meetings or so. Um, there's a lot of steps, but in this particular case right here, the green would be meetings that we'd meet with you, and the gray would be internal meetings when I'm sitting and doing design work, or one of my, any of us as designers would be doing that. Um, the design process, of course, that's the most uncontrollable for us because it depends on how quickly a client is perceiving the design work here. The more they let us do, the faster and better this is going to turn out. But if we have, sometimes we, occasionally have clients that they're living out their HGTV fantasies, and that's an
Mhm.
awesome thing. We love doing that with clients. But when we have somebody who's really really involved, it takes a little bit longer, and we just have to be a little bit more patient with it.
That
Or
makes
they
sense. It
they
just
do really,
varies
yeah. The client does,
on
yeah.
how long they would, make a decision, or if they have a bunch of different options that they have to decide over, it might take a little bit longer if
Yeah,
they're
and
more
and you know
involved
what,
in that.
what's interesting too is like anytime you're making decisions for yourself, it gets a little bit harder. And I know because I've done remodeling for myself over the years, and I second guess my decisions. That's human nature, I think,
Sure.
and it's just part of what we do.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Um, so coming back over to here, let's just pop this open here and see what we're working with. So this would be what that refrigerator wall would look like here, Sarah.
Okay, I actually don't see that yet.
Oh, that's because I don't have that on display. Here we go.
There we go. Yay. Okay, cool. So that really helps me be able to visualize it because
Hmm.
as someone who doesn't work in, this chief program every day,
Hmm.
I'm able to see that 2D, but this 3D is making it all come together for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm remembering those pictures of the current state of the house, and looking at it now, it's just a completely different space to me. So it's really nice to be able to physically see that 3D design.
Hmm. Hmm. And so I did do a little bit of design work prior to today's show, just so I could make sure I'm going at a good pace today. So I want to just pull in some of these here that I kind of pre-formatted a little bit, and I'll often do some pre-formatting prior to a meeting just so I can make the best use of my client's time. So in this case right here, we would have done something similar to this here, Sarah. And let me just show. Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah, I know, right? It's starting to take shape a little bit, right?
whoa, that looks really super nice. Yeah.
Okay, here's another view. Hopefully I didn't make you dizzy there.
A little bit.
I know, sorry.
That's
I know,
okay.
I need to be careful when I do that sometimes. All right. So here we have that refrigerator area that's going to be tucked in nicely. I'm going to do an island setup here. And pop this table over here.
Wow. I love that island, the countertop coming down like that.
Yeah, that's called a waterfall edge.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and what we can do is just thicken out that edge and bring it down. So that's the part of it that you'll see.
In that little corner area there, is that like a little mini bar? Um,
It can be. So a lot of times we do, depending on what, how you would live as a customer, you might do many different things with something like this. But
yeah.
essentially, in this case here, I'm also looking at some floor plan stuff over here, and I'm thinking that this would be an excellent area for a couch right here.
hmm
And I actually want to make some more windows here. Let me see
They
what these
had,
look like.
if we can remember, they had a beautiful backyard area backing up to a prairie. So I
Yeah.
think all
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
natural
for
light
sure.
coming in and being able to see that would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's do like a really high, big window here.
Because at the time, I think currently they only had a couple windows there, but this would really brighten the space up. I think make it feel bigger, and you be able to see, your scenery then.
Yeah. Let's take a look and see what this looks like here. All
Wow.
right. We are the ultimate hillbillies right now with the furniture out there. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
be the look there. Let's just get rid of some of this here. Clean that up just a bit. I wasn't a really big fan of the way this fireplace looked right now, Sarah.
Yeah, it doesn't match with anything that you've changed, so it seems outdated and doesn't flow with part of the space anymore.
Yeah, this was just to kind of go back to that. I saw this in one of the slides that we saw earlier. Um, look at
Oh,
that there.
yeah.
Yeah, that needs a
Yeah,
little bit of help, right?
sure.
Yeah, so let's see what we can do here. I did do a little bit of work again, doing some work before these appointments here.
Yeah.
See
And
how
you
that
would be able to
renders.
do this. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot better. More
Yeah,
updated, feels more inviting and matches along with everything else that's going on in there.
yeah, I'm liking this here a lot.
I'm loving that. Updated, check. That's what they wanted.
Yep.
More space, more use of the space because it already was a good space. It's just it seemed like it wasn't as functional as they hoped it to be. So, wow, yeah, even that view there.
That's pretty
It's
cool, huh?
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what just, moving some like a couple of walls around can do.
God, I love what I do, Sarah. I just got to tell you that. This is
You're
so
good at
fun.
it. You're really
Well,
good at it.
I, it's funny because I always say I would do this for free. I just love it so much.
And so if I were a client and I wanted to have an appointment like this, you could do this with me even remotely because you're
Oh,
doing that right now,
yeah. I
right? I
mean,
mean,
this
so
is what I do all day, every day. I do this remotely
yeah,
with everybody.
yeah,
And, I know that we're kind of in this whole really awkward social situation right now with the coronavirus, but actually, I've been doing these kind of virtual meetings for many, many years. So I love working this way.
yeah,
Actually, because here's the thing is that what I can do, and of course, I have two showrooms, um, but sometimes, when we're at the showroom, it's pretty easy to get wrapped up in the, um, you know, with all the details, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So when I do meetings like this with people, we can really focus on things, and probably one of the more important things, actually, is how we get to know our clients. Sarah, have you ever heard of something called Pinterest?
yes, I love it. I use it all the time. It's very addicting.
Yeah, I mean, they have just tons of stuff there. So if you're on Pinterest, you can look up anything from crafts to cookies to, you know, sayings and
A
plaques
lot of
and everything.
inspiration, a lot
Tons,
of
tons, tons. Yeah.
yeah.
So what I do is I'll actually go through Pinterest with clients, and when you're looking at this, we can actually start a board and collaborate a board together, and then go into like if I'm trying to get an understanding of what you gravitate towards, you would start looking at this one kitchen, and by the way, this is one of mine. Actually, this is a Synergy project here.
Love
Um,
that one.
but when you open this here, it'll go into these, and then it'll. Whoops, I'm sorry. That opened up the actual picture. A lot of times it'll. Oh boy, I am so sorry, live audience here. Okay, so this here, going back to this channel, we have this shower, and when you here, it kind of like looks by keyword things that are similar to it. So I can look at this one, and then it'll populate other things that look similar.
And so this is a nice way to kind of, if you're having a hard time, I guess, relaying to your designers what kind of style you want. This would be a good way. Just a picture is, speaks a thousand words. If you're able to save that to your board, right, you can collaborate with your designer a little bit more easy.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So, and what that does, and here's the suggestion I always give clients when I'm kind of showing them how to use this, is that it's really important to like when you look at an image, to look at it as a whole. Like I look at that, I'm like, oh, that's pretty, or I don't really care for that. It could be any one of those things, and at first glance, will tell you more than anything else. So you just kind of have to go off your gut, and if you like the way it looks at you know, a gut. I look at that and I say, yeah, I pin that one, and then I keep on going. Then if it goes too deep in one direction, I can reverse and go back. But what we're looking for as a designer is kind of an accumulation of pictures that are consistent, so we can offer suggestions. Designers, when you're working with a designer, they have a really well trained color eye and they test themselves frequently, and they're going to put everything together uh, after the
So,
fact. But you start
so
big and go small.
they might see a pattern in what you like that maybe you didn't even realize by looking at those accumulation of pictures. If they're going off of, as a client, your gut instinct, you may not know exactly what you like about that space. You just know that you like it. So what you're saying is maybe the designer has a trained eye to know what that is exactly.
That's exactly. You know what, Sarah? You're so much better at words than me.
No, I just honestly, I'm coming from an area where I don't do this type of work every day. Although I'm in this industry, I don't, I'm not a designer and I don't work in chief. So it's interesting um, to see it play out, and I think I have a little bit of a different perspective, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And and that's why we call ourselves Synergy, honestly, because everybody brings something really, really good to the table. Um, and the interesting thing about doing projects like this as a team, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I still my clients all the time they'll bring up an idea to the table. So when I'm first meeting with somebody, I'll actually ask them, and this goes totally against human nature, Sarah. I'll actually ask them to not share their ideas with me when we first get started, and they're going to have their ideas. I'm going to have my ideas, and we're both going to put fresh perspective on things. And then when I get to this stage and I'm showing my ideas to them for the first time, I call it a discovery meeting. They show me their ideas, and what we do is we combine them because every time I work with somebody, they have good ideas, and I try
That
to incorporate that.
That makes sense because I guess if someone were to tell me, "Hey, this is, what I think could be done," it automatically kind of clouds my head, and I'm a little bit more of a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
But I know as a designer, I'm sure it's very important for you guys to keep an open mind because just looking at this space, a lot of it I wouldn't have imagined to have been possible. So I totally get what you're saying. I think it's important as a designer to kind of use that free creative space and creative thinking, almost limitless, and then incorporate. the client's ideas.
Absolutely. And speaking of designers, I'm going to probably next week I'm going to pull in. We're doing the Dennis Doremus basement project.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he got a couple emails from him throughout the week, and he kind of told me that he's really inspired by a gaming den. Like he wants to make this the ultimate gamers lounge, which I mean I can absolutely 100% understand.
Hmm.
Um,
That
yeah.
is right up your
By the way,
alley.
I know, right? Right? I mean, this is my setup. I mean, who has this going, right? I have 5 monitors at one time. I know, right?
Very
So
impressive. Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about doing this project for him next week. Uh, so I might end up pulling one of my designers into the call if they're available, and have some fun with this space.
Yeah, this one will be especially fun for you. Like you said, it's just right up your alley. So I'm excited to see that one. And especially because as this project that we played out the last 3 episodes, it has been a lot of work and, including the main floor and the second floor bathroom area. But it'll be nice to see what we can do with a basement because, looking at it, it's for me at least, it's a lot more difficult to envision a space that's just a blank area with
Hmm.
nothing there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think that's a wrap for today, huh, Sarah?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Honestly, this project turned out way better than I could have imagined. As looking at those previous pictures, just it's night and day. So I think that these clients will be pretty excited with the potential of what their
Yeah,
home could be.
and just so you know, and I don't think I even shared this with you because it's been such a crazy busy week. This client right here actually does want to move forward with that kitchen project.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
Hmm.
awesome. Ah,
Yep, yep,
so cool because then we can get some before and actual after pictures. Even though
yeah.
this 3D design itself does a lot for me, it's
Hmm.
it's just so cool to see it actually completed. So that'll be
Yeah, I mean,
exciting.
absolutely. So we'll be showing some pictures of the construction as well, and we'll follow it through completion of the project.
Awesome. I know next week then you mentioned we're going to be um, doing that basement.
Yep,
So
yep.
this project for now is complete, and then we'll dive into that basement project starting next week for our fourth episode.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Yep, we'll see you. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, next Friday at 2. See you then.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks. Bye bye.
All right, bye.